Future's looking bright. It's actually looking really bad. Really bad. We've already seen the shift from using polling data to prediction market odds. And it's just a part. Look, it all boils down to this fundamentally, okay? The gamble, it's like with AI. Why is every site, every app, every device all the time pushing you to use AI? Because all of these AI companies that are losing money right now are aware of the fact that their big takeover of the human consciousness can only happen if people become dependent on it. So they want you to become dependent on it, even if it's, you know, as a loss leader. Push it into every feature, make it a part of everyone's life, and then you've got them hooked, right? It doesn't matter whether or not you want it. That's irrelevant. Likewise, same with the betting odds, right? Same with the betting market. The goal is to, I mean, I don't even need to like extrapolate, because the co-founder of Kalshi said as much here.
Mark, you've mentioned multiple times that you think prediction markets will be bigger than the stock market. What is it going to take to become a $1 trillion asset class?
It's pretty much already like a close to 100 billion a year asset class, right? Like, it's pretty easy to imagine a 10x from here. Like, we haven't even started. It's been a year. I think a very large number of people care, much larger than traditional markets. And I think retail as a pie has just been growing in the US, and I think it's going to keep growing. It's growing in the stock market, it's growing outside of the stock market. The long-term vision is to financialize everything and create a tradable asset out of any difference in opinion. And I think if you do build a general purpose exchange...
Financialize everything and monetize any potential difference in opinion. Funnily enough, even though this is a huge deal, one place you can go to and not hear anything about it is CNN itself, which, you know, in spite of the fact that a major news network partnering with a gambling app to incorporate like the financialization of, you know, all political developments, essentially all news, you'd think it'd be a big deal, but they don't want to talk about it for some reason. Very interesting. Yeah, it's infinitely evil. Did you see Alex Karp saying war crimes should be legal? No, but it doesn't surprise me because I know what kind of guy he is. I don't know. People overuse the word dystopian quite a bit. It's hard to imagine something as transparently, like, obviously evil as this, right? These people are enemies to humanity. They shouldn't be allowed to do what they're doing. They should all be in jail. And for a long time. Like, we have lost the ability to morally evaluate technological developments. I feel like people, like, the only technological advancements anyone's out here morally gut checking is fucking vaccination. And apart from that, everyone's like, well, guess we have to accept it, you know? Every single one of these schemes is just part of some broader argument from the world's most sociopathic human beings as to why it should be not only good, morally necessary for all of them to have an infinite amount of money. You know? That's one of the big reasons why you see a lot of weird Christian doomsaying from people who are actually atheists when they talk about AI. They talk about AI as though it's not only like inevitable, but also kind of divine. And a big part of that is because the easiest way for them to get a, you know, $1 bajillion market cap is for them to frame everybody who thinks that AI is bad as the Antichrist. If you want to hate on them more. Tech capitalists don't care about humans, literally. Not just a figure of speech to say tech titans are indifferent to humanity. Yeah, of course. Look, it's just a massive coincidence that all of these big, you know, seismic upheavals that they're advocating for also happen to make them obscenely wealthy. See, I don't actually think they don't care about humanity in the sense of like they believe in some greater, you know, divine AI singularity that we're all building towards. I think that for the most part, they're just aware of the fact that this rhetoric makes them a lot of money. With the one exception being Elon, because Elon is sincerely very stupid. And it's very possible that he actually believes what he's saying. I don't think that people like Alex Karp or the NVIDIA CEO, I'm forgetting his name right now, people like that, I don't think they buy into it quite as much. Did you see Joe Rogan saying Jesus is AI? Yeah, Joe Rogan's show these days exists as a basically like Silicon Valley oligarch to bro washing scheme. Like, he has had so many people affiliated with big tech, AI, and Palantir on, it's insane. And the job is like, or the purpose of this is to bro wash all of them. oh yeah, these guys might literally be the deep state. Like they're as close to what we have as the Antichrist as possible. You would think that it's a match made in hell. Joe Rogan's this like brutish, stupid populist, but in reality, no, that was always fake. What he actually likes is money, you know? He's incredibly susceptible to this rhetoric. They all just like money. The craziest thing is he didn't say it metaphorically. He literally said, I think Jesus could actually make the second coming through AI. It's important that people like the Palantir guys try to launder their intentions through people like Joe Rogan, because at the end of the day, these people are transparently marketing themselves to the stupidest humans alive. Like, you have to be low IQ to believe in this stuff. An intelligent person would never, ever listen to Elon Musk or Alex Karp or whatever ramble about AI being the future of divinity and believe it. You have to be, like, pretty stupid. So people like Joe Rogan, Theo Von, whatever, are essential middlemen to launder their intentions. Like I said, yeah, we do need to get to be a lot more ableist. A lot more ableist. Vosh, by the way, AI is losing them so much money. No, it's not. The companies that run these AI operations are losing money. The people on top are making lots of money. Don't get it twisted. The fact that all of these AI companies are running like lost leader gambits does not mean that it's not furthering the inequitable outcomes they're trying to, trying to achieve. Newman Ponzi scheme? That's the whole stock market, but it's gotten more obvious lately.
Exchange that can resolve differences of opinions on anything, like the TAM is quite massive, quite a bit bigger than the current TAM of the stock market. I think putting aside sort of the retail trading and the institutional trading product, like there's sort of this separate product, which is like, we are living in a world where like we have an abundance of information, but there's a lot of noise, and like we don't really understand what's real from what's...
All that being said, though, the intention to turn all difference in opinion into a gambling market is so obviously evil. It's like, this is up there with one of the great crimes. I would say that these people are, if they get what they want, morally equivalent to like Hitler, Stalin types. Like, I would say the net utility loss from what they're doing is equivalent to mass murder of tens of millions of people. Quite possibly more in the long run. It really depends on how much they get what they want and how long they get it. And I think that they should be, by the legal system at least, considered as such.
Now, and prediction markets are an antidote to that. They do a very, very good job at distilling information and surfacing truth to people. And you're seeing this sort of massive shift where like people are using them whenever they think about questions about the future, whenever they're debating about anything. And I think that trajectory is going to keep going. That's a new consumer habit that I don't think is going to be undone.
Phenomenal. And of course, all of these, the betting markets are deeply in bed with the AI people who are deeply in bed with surveillance people. They're all the same people. They might as well all be the same company. It's kind of like how when you get a breakdown of where the money's going within, like, between Nvidia and OpenAI and stuff like that, it's all just a big Ouroboros. It's all circulating in the same environment, completely locked off from the real economy. Seriously, you really can't find any mainstream video or any mainstream news outlets with videos on the partnership between CNN and Kalshi, because it may be announced to like the investors, but they want it to be quiet for the regular people. They're not proud of it. CNN is aware of the fact that they're inviting evil to the table here. They're CNN. They're already evil. Is there anything I can do for my coworkers being AI and gambling addled? They might be lost. You should just consider yourself better than them. I'm telling you, man, the future is going to be a very sharp bimodal divide between the vast majority of people whose brains are cooked from short form content, AI, constantly indebted via all of the gambling and financing applications and so on, and a small elite group of people who are just borderline functional. You don't have to run a mile in 5 minutes. You don't have to be able to do 100 push-ups in a row. You don't have to be some Mensa-level math genius. You just have to not be debt-addled, mentally disabled, neurotic, or whatever else. You just have to be functional. You can't watch sports these days without having a fucking gambling ad showed every other second. Oh, yeah, and also you just shouldn't engage with professional sports. No hate to sports, right? But they're all like laundering gambling sites now. That's the entire purpose of the whole scheme is an effort to siphon more of your money or more gambling addicts' money into the hands of groups like Polymarket or Kalshi, DraftKings or whatever else. You shouldn't watch professional sports not because there's anything wrong with the sports, but rather because there's something wrong with the entire industry. What I would recommend you doing is going to like your local games and, I don't know, fighting the umpire. Whatever you prefer. Yeah, or watch me. No Kalshi ads over here, yet. As part of the partnership, CNN will get access to Kalshi's data through an API or backend interface that automatically updates in real time. The data will be featured on CNN's air through a real-time data ticker and can be referenced across CNN's platforms when journalists discuss news predictions. It's the future of everything. All sports, all news, anytime you see anything happening anywhere, there will be like an integrated feature to gamble on it. They're going to start doing it with TV releases. New episodes of The Bachelor will air live, and there will be a little ticker there saying, do you think by the end of the episode, X will end up with Y or with Z? And people will spend millions of dollars betting. How long could this last? This is probably the most nakedly efficient scheme for robbing the working class ever devised since industrial capitalism took root all around the world. Like, I can't think of anything... like, this is right up there with what if you put every human alive in a company town, you know? It used to be company towns were only for a couple of guys. Now they're for everyone. I mean, it's a scheme of that order of, you know, it's that level of maliciousness. We have the power to stop this shit next year in November. Democrats are fine with this. Trust me. Democrats were working with Palantir just as well. This is not a partisan divide, I'm afraid. Republicans might be more openly evil about it, but all Democrats are going to offer you is minor regulation on it. What we need is transformative political action and a lot of people in jail. The integration will be championed by Harry Enton. We're done with Harry Enton, by the way. Sorry. I'm not abiding by this. I don't care how peppy he is when he delivers the information, okay? He's a merchant of evil. Would you accept a Black Rifle Coffee ad read? Serious question. Why would I accept a Black Rifle Coffee ad read when I've declined literally thousands of potential ad reads from literally every company that's ever asked? Like, why would I say yes for that when I'm already saying no for everything? Would you do an ad read that advertises your own stream? No, I don't trust that guy. Yahoo Finance debuted a new integration with the Poly Market. Sports Illustrated and Time launched prediction market data deals with Galactic this year. Kalshi has been blowing the fuck up lately. Doubling value in under 2 months. Is Kalshi also crypto like Poly Market? They're all crypto. They're all crypto. They're all AI. They're all Palantir. They're all Cybertruck. All of them are all the same thing. Do not make the mistake of distinguishing them in your head. Any changes that are advertised to you between them are irrelevant. They're all the same blob. They represent the exact same force. They are all Charlie Kirk. Depressing, huh? Can we see more from this? Citadel Securities 2025 Kalshi. Well, I'm seeing a clip, but it's also the exact same length as the one that we just watched. Surely the whole thing is longer. Don't tell me they didn't put the whole thing online. What, was it too evil?
Given that, it was very clear we needed to do...
Yeah, here we go. Turning events into assets with the Kalshi founders.
It's got much louder, but it's Kalshi and Polymarket were there. So there's kind of the new entrants or the challengers. And maybe the kind of most interesting takeaway of that is like, you know, this sort of asset class that we've been building over the last few years, prediction markets, event contracts. You know, if I think back to a year or 2 years ago, I mean, you know, there was like absolutely no way we'd be on that panel, but we were this week, so that was fun. And then there was a bunch of the, you know, fights and jives and all these things that happened there, but...
That's what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about...
This dude didn't spend nearly enough time getting shoved in a high school gym locker. It was unironically better when our economic elites were actual elites, and not when they're all neurotic fail sons, who lucked out in Silicon Valley and now are taking out the fact that they didn't get the girl they wanted in high school and the rest of humanity. Like, Jesus Christ, at least like your Carnegies, your Rockefellers and stuff were actually, you know, chatting their way through the private institutions. At least the aristocracy used to have a little bit of class, is what I'm saying.
Punchy stuff.
Now they're all losers.
Well, I mean, It's interesting. I think financial regulation is going through quite a bit of change right now. And, you know, I think there's a little bit of a view from the sort of legacy exchanges that in some interesting way they're sort of being put at a disadvantage because, you know, the sort of new entrants.
By the way, if you want to, you can try it right now. Look up Kalshi on YouTube. This live stream is the third result. They are censoring results because they're aware of the fact that what they're doing is evil and they don't want attention drawn to it. Seriously, look it up. Try it right now in a different tab. Give it a look. Unless you have a better explanation for why a massive, recently traded company that just did a huge deal with CNN, if you look up Kalshi, would not be at the easy top results. You're the first result now? Hey, there you go. You're first on my end, your first result, haha. Yeah. Yep. For me, I'm number 3. And number 2 is a 7-month-old video with 15,000 views. And yeah, all I'm seeing right now is just like low-effort glazing, essentially. It is censorship.
Can benefit from lack of scale, or at least, you know, lack of scale in the last few years. I mean, now we're getting real scale. To do things to do things like fighting regulators and suing them and being sued. And
first for me is the CNBC video. Listen, my point wasn't that I'm always first. My point is that this is a massive company that has a lot of influence. Why are all the video results that I'm seeing from months or from years ago, not years, but like the end of the year? Why are there so many video results that have low views?
You know, taking on Wells notices and so on and so forth that they can't.
We'll get into the whole story of Kalshi. To start, I want to go a little bit more off script. Sorry to your comms team. But Tark, can you please share Kalshi's latest numbers?
So we're doing, Luana knows them better. So I'm a little bit like, I don't look at the numbers a lot because I'm a bit like superstitious. I try not to mess with them. But so I think we're doing 40 billion of annualized.
Why would they do this? Because Google, which runs YouTube, is also a tech company. And all of these companies are invested in each other, and they all represent the same great big amorphous blob of tech apocalypse that's trying to do the same thing, which is to turn you into a subservient meat wallet. If you look up Polymarket, by the way, the only shit you'll see in the results is positive. What is Polymarket? The ultimate prediction market. Why Polymarket beats experts. How to make money on the Polymarket, a beginner's guide. It's all like tutorials or glazing. I promise you there is plenty of negative engagement with the Polymarket on YouTube, but they've delisted those videos. They're all in on it. They're all evil. They all want you dead. They are all the Antichrist. All the AI people, NFT, crypto, Kalshi, Polymarket, betting markets, gambling, they're all the same people. It's one guy. Satan has many heads. Don't get it twisted.
Volume now. Up from, so last year, at the same time period, right before we got the election approval, we were at, I think, 300 million of annualized volume. We're at 40 billion now. And it's growing like 20% week over week. So the top line growth is growing 20%, retention is up. Basically everything is growing. There's a number of things that are happening. Obviously our introduction of sports markets, but also our partnerships with the brokerages like Robinhood and Webull and others that are coming live. And then the sheer sort of number of markets that we scaled to. So, you know, we were at 80 markets back in October 2024. We're at 3,000 to 2,500.
Over, I think 3,300. So
3,300 markets now. This is sort of the idea, you know, kind of I encountered it at Goldman in 2016 before the Trump election and Brexit, and Luana saw it at Bridgewater, where, you know, they have this sort of...
Did you see the Palantir CEO crashing out on stage? What specifically are you referring to? With Alex Karp. Palantir CEO defends aiding Trump's immigration policies. That one? It's not surprising. He literally runs Palantir. Like, of course he defends the surveillance police state stuff. 100%, obviously. You know, Alex Karp didn't like Trump initially. Exact same story as every single one of these Silicon Valley guys. Couldn't stand Trump to begin with, but now that they've reached an appropriate level of personal psychosis, and they understand that Trump has paved the way for them to do literally whatever they want, they're all Trump guys now.
And I'm a little bit pissed at the New York Times, honestly, but since you, and the main reason is I believe in your, if you're listening, I believe in your mission. When you write a technically completely illiterate article, you lose a lot of credibility with people who are technical. And that's just a fact. That article about us being a surveillance thing is like where it's all implied what we do. Yeah, but the problem is you lose credibility with...
Is he tweaking? He's probably on drugs, yes, but also he's just stupid. They're all you all know this, right? Again, our aristocracy is just incel losers. They lucked out in Silicon Valley. That's it. They weren't the ones that developed the AI algorithms. They were just the financiers who stood on top of the developments of other people. And I don't know what kind of tech knowledge goes into producing an LLM. It doesn't really matter here, I suppose. But they were not the ones writing the fucking code, you know? They're stupid people. And a lot of them are very mentally ill as well. We have the worst aristocrats, man. I hope China is able to avoid our mistakes, you know? I hope the Chinese government is able to keep enough of a leash on the on their own billionaire class to keep them from completely succumbing. Because right now, America is just a fucking playground to these people. There are, like, no laws for them.
Anyone who goes on the thing, and that's damaging for our democracy.
Let me ask you this.
Again, look left and right. The one thing I would say to people in the audience, you know a lot of you think I'm right, and you know your spouse, your relative, your child, the person at work would be horrified if they knew it. You better speak up, because everyone who thinks I'm a ridiculous fascist, they're speaking up. They write about it every day. If you do not speak up, the people who are disagreeing with me or think I'm stupid, I disagree with myself. So you have to speak up, and you cannot.
This is one of the most powerful people in the world, by the way. Runs Palantir, you know, the surveillance AI network that the government has partnered with in an effort to stamp out all free will. He's actually tweaking. Yeah, but I've seen interviews with him where he's not literally tweaking on drugs, and he's still just stupid. Remember how a bunch of conservatives were like really pumping up Curtis Yarvin, the genius far-right philosopher, inspiring minds like Peter Thiel and J.D. Vance, and then he made a Twitter, and it turns out he was also just a fucking idiot. Like, just stupid. Like, not like in a novel, innovative way. Like, genuinely just another low IQ, self-important guy. You passed by dozens of, you know, Curtis Yarvins every day you get on a bus.
Not blame the far left, far right idiots. When they speak up for their views, do you speak up for your views? Where? Do you tell your colleague? I bet you at the New York Times, a lot of people read that article about us and were ashamed. Did you go to your editor and say, how could you write something that's technically illiterate? The guy might be a fascist, but this is technically illiterate.
Okay, let me ask you a different question.
Did you or didn't you? Because I'm the only one speaking up. You're going to get a world of technical illiteracy on the right, on the left, and in the middle.
Alex, help me with this. A lot of people...
Dude on the left is so embarrassed. Yeah, because this is a New York Times, you know, interview, and presumably the guy on the left is also evil, but much more intelligent than Karp, so he's kind of embarrassed by adjacency. Many such cases in the New York Times, by the way, where you have these, like, 132 IQ monsters who are, like, you know, they're pompous, they went to the Ivy Leagues, whatever, and they're embarrassed at the fact that the new oligarchs they have to worship at the feet of are these ludicrously fucking embarrassing, stupid people. It's not great. It's not great. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. Avoid the Antichrist. Never, ever, ever gamble. Don't go into debt. Don't buy any of the bullshit. Don't engage with any midwittery where people say, you can outsmart the odds or whatever. Keep your nose to the grindstone, okay? Your immortal soul is on the line. All you have to do is not let your brain be cooked by AI, the gambling market, whatever, and you will be better. Then in the new world, you will be better than the vast majority of people. You'll be a king among the blind. But you'll live in a shit world? Oh, yeah, for sure, but there's no avoiding that at this point. I don't want the new world. No one does. Even the people who advocate for all of the companies and all the people who are doing this, every day they go on Twitter and they try to farm engagement by posting like, why aren't things the way they used to be? My brother in Christ. You are the reason. I read Nietzsche and I have a feeling if he saw the world today, he'd have a mental breakdown. Well, Nietzsche had a mental breakdown seeing the world as it was when he was around. So yeah, probably. not exactly the most mentally stable individual. I hate the Antichrist. All right. We'll cut the segment there, but I do want to poke around just a little bit more.
What is that? But it was really cool. We all watched together in the office, and honestly, it was less bad than we thought it was going to be. So.
Well, we obviously don't agree with the episode, but needless to say, but it was funny. I mean, and the most interesting part was like they copied the app one-to-one. I mean, even the bugs, like even the refer $10 at the top, and I hate that thing on the app, but like we have it, and like they copied it. I mean, it was really amazing. But again, it's one of those interesting moments where like this can really be embedded in culture, embedded in our day-to-day, embedded in sort of the way people think about the world, and I feel like we're really very much on the path.
What have you learned from your users? I know you have
before this, like they're not in traditional financial markets, they're not in sports betting or any of this other stuff.
Actually,
and
I think from a lot of the users, what we learned is it's the first time they have a way to monetize what before were hobbies for them. So, for example, we have markets on Rotten Tomato scores or things related to music, and you see a lot of people that have no background in finance whatsoever, and this is actually the first time they're being able to monetize different things, and it's very exciting to also like hear from them which markets they want us to list, and like they bring more people that have like similar interests, and we get a lot of these like communities growing on Kalshi. I think is very interesting, because I think when we started, we also thought,
when she says community, she means looking from the top down. There are pockets of people spending their family's savings money on gambling that the house always wins with. I was so right earlier, a couple of years ago, when I first planted my feet in the ground and said all gambling should be illegal. That was such a correct opinion of mine. It's funny, like this is one of the few instances where the completely socially conservative position has ended up proving itself to be the right one. And now all the social conservatives are pro-gambling.
Is it going to be that only the big funds are going to be able to make all the money? And it's very, very far from it being the case. So.
Yeah, our demographics are also sort of the, I would say the most diverse, because, so we have, I think, the highest percentage of female traders out of any active trading product.
Oh my God.
And it's interesting because you ask.
The dystopia is coming for us, okay? And it's inclusive.
You always ask, like, did you ever like trade or like in any, like, and there's this kind of reaction like, no, that's not for me. Trading is like not for me. It's like, well,
I'm telling you, like, it's so important that you resist the pull, okay? Modernity is trying to force you, like, they're trying to capitalize on FOMO into forcing you to ruin your life to make you useful to wealthy people. You need to DoorDash. No, you fucking don't. All humans for all time didn't have DoorDash until like 5 years ago. Get over yourself. If you're hungry, cook food. If you don't have food, go get food. If it's too late to go get food, then just be hungry. Just be hungry until tomorrow morning, and then you can go get food. You do not need to gamble. It doesn't matter if other people are putting pressure on you. You don't need to do it. You don't need to do anything. If a show is pissing you off, stop watching it. If there are people in your life who are making your life worse, stop seeing them. If there's a movie that everyone's talking about that you don't want to see, just fucking don't see it. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to.
What do you and it's people that would never do like any active like trading. Maybe they have a 401k. They would obviously never touch options or futures, which are way too complicated. And then they didn't also even do like crypto or sports betting, like none of that. But it's like, well, there's a market here for something I care about. Like, there's markets on like how well the album for like the next Taylor Swift album is going to do, or like the Rotten Tomatoes. They
really do want to ruin like all life for everyone. Oh, all Taylor Swift fans, you're excited about the next Taylor Swift album coming out? No, you're not. Now you're fucking anxious about it because you have money riding on the exact like date of its drop. You're gonna like reviewers are gonna be getting fucking bomb threats because there's $52 million riding on whether the like aggregate score for the new album is going to be above or below a certain threshold, and one of the reviewers went too low.
And like a lot of people follow this pretty religiously, And they have a lot.
Nothing can ever be because you just like the thing. You can't watch sports because you like sports. You can't do anything because you like the thing. Nothing is meant to be enjoyed for the sake of itself. Art isn't real. All of it is just a monetizable disagreement, which is, you know, conveniently the house always wins. This guy's benefit.
Of knowledge about that, and there's like a way to kind of monetize it now. And
Want to bet on how long until a major bet rigging scandal breaks? Buddy, it's already happened. There have already been a bunch of cases of like accounts making a fuck ton of money because of insider trading. There are no regulations. None of this is regulated. If you're betting on something on Polymarket or Kalshi, you can be an insider. You can be in the White House. You can be in the NBA. You can be whatever. Yeah, there was a Google search one with whether Pope Leo would be the most searched guy of 2025. There are no regulations.
And we see this as a kind of a pretty interesting trend over time because, you know, they start with a certain set of markets and then they can go into a bunch of other markets on Kalshi and then over time maybe into traditional financial markets. But this is definitely one of those things where like we have a subset of users that are in traditional financial
I thought it was illegal to bet on the Polymarket here in America. You are incorrect, I'm afraid.
markets, but the bulk of our users are not. They really didn't have a home before this. Like they're not in traditional financial markets, they're not in sports betting or any of this other stuff. They're just on Kalshi, this weird new thing that, you know, we have been doing for a few years and now we're basically much more committed to.
What are your favorite markets?
Well, my favorite market ever is I was a big One Direction.
There was one that involved people throwing dildos onto WNBA courts. People were going to games just to do it and win money. Yeah, it's gambling where people who put money on the line have the ability to directly change the outcome, which means that there's going to be a massive increase in terroristic behavior over time because there will be people betting on all manner of shit. And you can just weigh in on it, you know? You can weigh in, you can change the outcome. It is a dystopia, and you should not get involved on any level.
Fan when I was younger, so it was whether they were going to have a reunion was like a dear market to me. But of course, it goes without saying the election market is the market that I love the most, but that one. And right now I'm really watching the length of the government shutdown. I think right now it's forecasted at 21 days. So
This is from
I
a
think
month
for
ago.
me, like all of the news I get is from Kalshi. I just open Kalshi and I'm like, wow, 21 days, that sounds like a lot. And go through a lot of things, but.
Listen to these fucking ghouls, these retards, talk about their own app too. What do you like most? Oh, I like the fact that Kalshi informed me that the government shutdown was in 21 days. It's been 21 days since it began. Really? You really needed the massive gambling app to tell you that? You couldn't have, like, known the date when it began and then know what date it is today? Nope, got all thinking must be delegated to the Kalshi.
For a while, it was a TikTok ban. I think that was like, because it was really one of those, putting aside the election, obviously, but it was one of those markets where like, it's really hard to price what's gonna happen. And it is important. Like what's gonna happen with TikTok, whether it's gonna get banned or not, is a very important event. Like we should know what's gonna happen. There's a lot of people whose like entire sort of revenue stream is at risk. And this is millions of people that are on TikTok that make money via TikTok. And then the opposite is obviously, you know, this whole question about, you know, what is TikTok doing to our kids in the US and so on. And it was amazing to see like how the market was pricing in real time, the sort of infighting of what was going to happen with TikTok. The more recent one.
We all need to get so much more judgmental. We all need to get so much more pretentious. If there are people in your life using these apps or engaging in any of this behavior, you should treat them with contempt. You are better than them. You should make sure they know it. I mean it unironically. Like you shouldn't allow you have a soul. You're a divine being, okay? The heart that beats within you. You're going to be dead one day, and then that'll be it. You don't get anything after that. Do not waste your one fucking shot on this life tolerating the social decay that is being forced on you by these sociopaths, okay? The most you can do, at the very least, is try to keep your life clear. The more of it you see in your whatever you watch, sports or esports or whatever you get into, you see it on CNN, then don't look at CNN anymore. Don't engage with it, you know? Remove it from your life. Remove the people from your life. Why are you using these sole arguments to argue against AI use? Because I think they're desold. Because I think that they're fundamentally spiritually wrong. Because I do have axiomatic principles that extend beyond how many chicken nuggies I get to eat in a day. because I do think that there are things worth fighting for that go beyond, like, I don't know, GDP per capita. There are fundamental elements of the human experience that define the worth of life, and it goes beyond these empirical measures. These companies, these people represent a threat to our ensoulment that is unparalleled in human history, you know? Like, we're dealing with an entirely new kind of threat. Normally, when you talk about great evils, we're talking about stuff like death counts. Hitler, Stalin, Mao, how many people died? Sure. These people, this guy, to my knowledge at least, he's not killing people. He's doing something different. But I would say, with regards to the severity of the moral crime, it's comparable. You know? It's insane.
That I thought was pretty funny and interesting is the astronomer CEO being ousted. That one was crazy. And like it spiked for like a few days and then, it went back.
And you might note they also have literally nothing of note or interesting to say about their own app. Because again, and it's really important to remember this, these people aren't smart. They are just the financiers who ended up on top. The system they operate in, like the social worlds they exist in, are designed to keep them stupid too. They're cheerleaders for a dead cause, you know? They're all con men. They're con men who have bought into the con themselves to a large extent. They're not, we're not dealing with masterminds over here.
But and then he did get ousted. So
Are you guys monitoring the market behavior at all? Because I've seen a lot of them flip last minute. How does that work?
What's an example?
Like, I think the last election one.
Oh, the Mamdani election.
Yeah.
The last election? Jesus fucking Christ, these people. That's the moderator too. Everyone here is stupid.
Well, the market had it sort of. So this is what's interesting. That happened with the Mamdani election and it happened with the Pope. So actually, the prediction markets were pricing the Pope, the American guy, at 1%.
The American guy.
And there were, by the way, again, the weirdos on the internet that are now the prediction market stars. Like, there were a bunch of them that were buying him at 1%, and they had this whole analysis for why he was underpriced, etc. But like, this is the thing. Like, prediction markets obviously are not a crystal ball. Like, what we can claim is that they're the most accurate way of aggregating kind of the prevailing information that is out there, and sometimes the information that is out there is not enough. Like,
It was the next pope being chosen, a decision made only by a small group of people who make their decision in secret. There was no information out there. Absolutely none. It's just gambling. It's just gambling. Even the term prediction markets is a euphemism. They're not predicting anything. You're gambling. If two heavyweight fighters are boxing in Vegas and you put down some money on person A winning, you're not predicting that they're going to win. You're betting that they're going to win. It's a betting market, not a prediction market.
But it's more accurate than any other alternative. So notably, the Pope market is one of those markets that, like, it is really true. There's not much information about what's going to happen in that room. Like, they go in, they fight. No one knows what happens. They could be fighting. I mean, I have no idea. And like, they come out with a surprise answer. And so that happened there. New York, the Mamdani election was interesting.
Yeah. What I thought was very interesting.
That's what he's got to say. Oh, it turns out the vast majority of people bet in the wrong direction. Interesting how? He couldn't tell you. They have nothing going on up here. None of these people.
And you see this with the presidential election or with New York, which is how fast the markets are at getting the information. So right after the polls closed for Mamdani, I think it was 9 p.m., they started counting. At like 9:02, he was already at 80, or even higher than that. And I think the exact same thing in the presidential election. Start of the election day, I think Trump was at 65. And I think they started counting the early votes for maybe South Carolina or Georgia, I think. And then Trump was already at 80.
Won't this open up a huge insider trading market as people are encouraged to bet on premeditated crimes where people have been tipped off? Yes, and it's already happening all the time. There is absolutely no reason to get involved in any of this unless you're currently engaged in your own form of insider trading.
At like 6 p.m., I think he was already at like 80, 90. And I think it's just like the speed of information versus being on also like watching the news and they're counting ballot by ballot and they're not really sure and they're trying to see and make an analysis. But prediction markets were like, honestly, almost instantly, they are able to get this information and be if Georgia early voting is like this South Carolina, Pennsylvania is going to look like this, Arizona is going to look like this, and you have like way better pricing. But yeah, prediction markets obviously are not perfect. What they do is they give you a probability distribution, but 1% is not zero.
No, they don't. They don't give you a probability distribution. All they do is tell you how many people have put how much money on which outcomes. They don't. That's not information on the odds. Only people's perception of the odds.
And I think there's a lot that we can do on the education of that, because even for...
Genuine question, if your advice is we should ignore this kind of stuff and not engage with it, why do you cover it on stream instead of not giving it attention yourself? For one, this is my job. For two, when I say don't engage with it, what I mean is don't allow it to creep its way into your life. You should still be aware of it. I still think people should know what's going on. I would advocate for all of you to stay educated on the ways in which our world is getting raped to death by Satan. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't know, you should remain ignorant. I'm saying that you should not allow it to encroach into your life. You can remain aware of these problems without allowing them to encroach into your life, you know.
The election, you see a lot of the coverage was thinking that a 65% Trump meant an 100% Trump. And they were comparing it to how you analyze polls versus, and it's just obviously very different, right? 65% is a slightly biased coin flip, right? And I think there's a lot that needs to be done in terms of education for people to actually understand what...
They literally, like, they've nothing to say at all on their own multi-billion-dollar product. They've no thoughts on it.
Probability means and how to actually understand and deal with the data that they're receiving. Because data doesn't mean if 51% is 100 or 49 is 0. So there's a long way that we have to go there too.
Yeah, people were making like, people confused that a lot during the election. And that was like, that was kind of a key learning. Like, it's crazy. Yeah, people really, I mean, it is not a poll, right? Like, because if you're polling 65%, it's done.
These are your leaders, man.
Pretty much. But if you're being priced at 65%, yeah. It's
These aren't just your leaders. This is them, while their company is skyrocketing in value, them giving a talk at Citadel Securities, promoting their company. Like, this is the shit you lock the fuck in for. But this is what you get.
2/3 chance. That's still very much so a race, right?
Because you're so close to the truth and you're seeing how information is spread across the internet, what have you learned about media and communications?
It's a good question. It's a very good question.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's so meaningless and vague. It means not. It's a nothing question. I'm sure.
The unfortunate reality is, like, you know, people don't really want the truth. I mean, I don't know if it's like, I mean, we've really seen it. Maybe it's not a learning, but like, it's just not what people are interested in. Like, I mean, maybe it's a bit of a broad statement, but like, during the election, the thing that was very interesting, so like when Trump odds were up, and you know, we've kind of really seen this, like at some point there was like a bunch of conspiracy theories that like I was a Mossad agent because I work at Palantir at some point, and you know, we're rigging the election. And then when at some point the Harris...
Remember how I said it's all the same company? All of these people are connected to each other. Why would a random like gambling app be connected to the cybersecurity surveillance firm that contracts the government? You know why.
Odds were up after the Ann Seltzer poll for like a brief point of time. I flipped to being an Egyptian billionaire. So I'm neither. I'm a Lebanese guy, not, you know, neither, you know, born in California.
The way this guy talks reminds me of XQC. Am I crazy? In that he's stupid? No, it's embarrassing. He just sounds like, it's like coworker shit. He sounds like the habitual stoner like coworker you have when you work at a restaurant, and he's got like a big idea he wants to tell you. You know? Feels like Elon low-key, because they're all like that.
California, there's this sort of very strong like need, and we see it on social media, we see it everywhere, to sort of like reinforce a narrative, and like it's all about like what is the sort of end goal, and like figuring out what data backs it. And over time, as people kind of get more and more familiar with these markets, like I think, you know, they'll realize like, okay, you know, this is a marketplace, it's the crowd wisdom, it's people with real skin in the game, The bias is to make money, which is great. All you have to trust is that people are trying to make money on this market, which is an easy thing to trust. People will start going to these markets to find an unbiased sort of source of truth. But it really is, and maybe kind of like the second sort of learning, like it's just kind of how polarized things have gotten, and you see it on different platforms. Like you can put Trump odds being up on one platform and on another, and in one of them the algorithm boosts it to the absolute moon, and the other one it kind of tanks and it disappears. And so even sort of so you have media that's sort of biased and is has a bunch of issues, and not all media, but
he's saying nothing. I know it's boring. I just think it's a really important lesson for people to learn, because I think that we're potentially harming ourselves quite a bit by buying into the myth-making these people have around them. The idea that all of these people are like Silicon Valley philosopher kings. They're geniuses, and they're riding artificial intelligence towards the horizon. And written no, literally all of them are dumb. I think there are some of the people who are adjacent to this who are actually intelligent, but I think that their brains have been cooked over time, or they keep relatively quiet. Zuckerberg being a good example. Zuckerberg isn't an idiot. Though how long he had his meta dalliance does make me wonder if his brain has been cooked over time, but he's definitely not as stupid as this guy is. He also tends to stay more quiet, He's just sticking to the business end of things for the most part. Bezos, likewise.
some of it, and then the polls are the accuracy is decreasing. And then even the social media, even if it's not the platforms themselves, it's your network and your bubble around you basically feeds you the things that you want to hear, and so there really isn't. There's a huge scarcity of just being able to look at something and know that it's actually real. And I do think prediction markets. The thing is I can't really think of a better mechanism. It's if you go back to try to do it from scratch, it's okay, how do we solve that? It was well, let's figure out what are the right incentives in the system and how do we do it and make sure enough people participate and enough smart people participate. It's how about we take all the opinions from everybody and then weigh them by how much dollar they can put, and obviously if they're more convinced, they'll put more money, and if they're less, they put less, and then create an incentive, a monetary incentive to be right, and we just recreate prediction markets.
It's called gambling.
I do think it's sort of this truth concept that I think makes these markets so important. They're not kind of the ultimate truth, but I think they're as close as it gets.
Good, okay. That was a hardball. So sports has become a very popular segment for Kalshi. Can you talk about the rise of sports and how you're battling different states over contracts?
Well, we're suing and we're being sued by everybody. So if everybody wants to sue us here, we can talk after.
Let's wrap it up.
The pricing was very opaque and
You have been at the cusp, if not the frontier, of reinventing what marketing is and growth marketing. You have this across different channels. You're pumping out different kinds of content. You go viral.
Is this girl 20? Who the fuck is she? You're the moderator at a Citadel Securities panel. You look like an actual child.
All the time. What's your favorite campaign?
Oh, well. Well, I'm a big fan of our AI ads. I think that we had two.
Shocking.
Two that we really liked. I think especially the betting on the underdog one was very, very exciting. And yeah, I don't know. Do you agree? No, you like.
Well, the AI ads was pretty big because so we aired the first AI produced commercial on live TV. So that was, and honestly, we didn't know it was the first. We just did it, and it ended up being a big thing. My favorite has to be when we bought up this sort of crazy amount of billboard inventory across all the key states during the election. And we put live odds and live trades. So as the trades were happening on Kalshi, you could look up in a bunch of places. So Times Square in the middle of Vegas, in LA. Pretty much, we kind of bought really kind of all the major cities and a ton of inventory everywhere. So you could look in a bunch of places and you could see the election odds and who's going to win. And you could see it in real time. You could see the actual trades being placed in real time. I think that has to be my favorite. But it's kind of the same because, when you're asking about the question about listing markets, it's all intertwined. The whole point of these markets is they're much more dynamic. It's continuously about what's in the news, what's on top of people's minds, what's trending, create a market about that and make sure that people are basically talking about it. And we see this as a kind of fully embedded end-to-end. Like traditional market, you list something and you cater, build liquidity for it for years, and like that becomes a thing. The next generation just doesn't.
Jesus fucking Christ, man. Jesus Christ. I'm developing a headache, but I feel like I'm learning so much about how little I should think of these people.
Not have the attention span for that. They just don't. Like I don't. Like I can't even watch movies anymore. Like.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Like I said, guys, become elite human capital. All right? You got to be elite human capital. You have to be better than this. The world so desperately wants you to be a little fucking piggy money slave with your short form content, and you're gambling away every free cent. It wants you to live in the company town so fucking badly.
I can't read. Like I just on TikTok all day. Like.
And working, I hope.
Yeah, sometimes. But
I do miss the shame though. I do miss the idea. You'd think this guy would have a financial interest in not admitting that he's an idiot and can't read because he has investors, but it doesn't matter because the investors are also exactly like this guy and they think this makes him a genius. Remember, what was the name of that guy who he was in the finance and he was young and he was a billionaire and they talked about him being a genius because he would play League of Legends on a laptop during business meetings, like he was so above it all? Was that Sam Bankman-Fried? Was that him? Yeah, and then it turns out he was just an idiot also, and he was bad at League. He was like playing Vayne at Bronze 3 or something. To people like this, him being a attention span addled, brain fried moron is actually like a sign that he's a real one. They're intimidated and threatened by people who are capable of reading books. I cannot tell you enough how badly you need to be better than this guy. The world is only going to get harder from here.
but the point is like, things that are relevant they don't stay relevant for long anymore. They're relevant for a very, very short period of time. And so your operations, your listing, your markets, and your marketing has to be extremely dynamic. Mm-hmm. It has to be sort of wake up on the day and like figure out what's up, and then market it accordingly. And I think we've done a good job. I think it's like small team, pretty hungry, pretty aggressive, and then just pretty creative. Just let people do their thing.
It's almost a mix of thinking like how like an editorial part of a newspaper would be about these what's in the news today. We need these markets. We need to push. Have a certain amount of liquidity, we need to do a certain amount of ads, how do we make them? And it's like piggybacking out of viral events. Prediction markets are important because of the viral events, and we can also use them to grow. And having that flywheel, that loop, is a lot of what we work on, from contracts to growth and figuring out how to be better and faster and all of that, especially with the regulatory constraints, is a big, big part of what we do.
Amazing. Well, we're out of time, but it was a pleasure to speak with you both again.
Yeah, it was great.
It's been so much fun to watch this journey, and it just keeps on escaping velocity each time I talk with you. So thank you.
It just keeps on escaping velocity. Just from start to finish. From start to finish, just nothing going on up there for any of them. I'm so tired of podcasters. I know you're thinking of like Theo Vaughn or whatever, but the average podcaster living in Brooklyn unironically has 40 or 50 IQ points up over on these people. At least man, I gotta move to New York City or something. You have to move somewhere where there's something going on outside. No, I mean, this woman is a podcaster. Oh, okay. Well, clearly she doesn't live in Brooklyn. All right, I need to take a piss just a second. God, this shit's depressing. Both the cats are sleeping on the bed. They look so cozy. They don't have to know about Kalshi. They don't have to know about Palantir. Fuck, I gave myself a fucking headache over this, man. God damn it. Oh, I felt fucking good this morning, too. I get headaches so easily. Oh my God, they're just so stupid, dude. A big part of my maturing from age like 25 to age 30, like early streaming, basically, was me, getting over myself and beginning to appreciate regular people more. you know, people who aren't me. And like, oh, it turns out all of those little like elements of social interactions that I used to think were extraneous and uninteresting contained a lot of meaning that I didn't really appreciate at first. It turns out the world is more complicated and vibrant than I thought. And, you know, there's lots everyone has to teach me. But I feel like I'm going to fucking regress, man. Because it seems like the world is conspiring to make people as dull as I used to think they all were. Do you know what I mean? I don't want it to be like that. I think this proves they were always dull, actually. No, it doesn't, because the world didn't used to be like this. There are a lot of ways in which things are cyclical, but this is new. All of this shit is new.